Is it visible now, Efrain?
Sir, it's still dark.
Nothing is coming.
No, sir.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So please bear with me. I'll go with this one. Is it clear? Shall I move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So good morning to everyone once again. We'll talk about the web and HTTP today. So when I was just looking at when this website would have been started, then I came to know about this. This is the Tim Berners-Lee. Who is, by the way, Tim Berners-Lee? Have you heard this word already? None of you have heard it. It's good. Taking class for you when you are not responding is similar to looking at the Dora Bujji show. Okay, Dora the Explorer. I have to ask the question.
Is the
After some time, I have to answer the question and so on.
is
Yes,
the one who invented the word failure.
right. So he's called as the father of WWW, and his photograph is still hanging in our department. I think first floor or second floor. During the staircase, you can see his photograph. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this. This is the first website, and this was your first web browser. Anyway, that has not much technical input for us for the time being because the technology has grown a lot. Let's move into what happens with HTTP. Wanted to give you a little highlight of what an HTTP is. Hypertext Transfer Protocol is an application layer protocol which uses TCP in the transport layer. When you have TCP in the transport layer, TCP being a connection oriented protocol, it always goes for connection setup. We call it as three-way handshake protocol. We have seen it in the earlier classes. So when you have the HTTP protocol in action, initially the client is your browser, all right, your own machine. The client which is running this HTTP
Excuse
will
me,
make
sir.
the request. We have seen in the last class.
Sir, the PPT is coming and
Yes.
going again and again.
Uh-huh. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Right. So TCP uses, I'm sorry, HTTP uses the TCP in the
No,
transport
sir,
layer. So the
it's
steps are very
still
simple.
blinking.
The same thing is happening again.
What could be the trouble? All right, today is not the day for HTTP and web, I think. All right, so I'll do something else today. I do not know what could be the trouble. I do not know how to troubleshoot it. Oh, it's blinking. Okay, I'll rectify it and come back for the next class. Does not mean I leave you now. I'll take another page. Could you see a Wireshark screen now? Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is perfect. Okay, so I'll go ahead with this Wireshark analyzer today. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused due to that trouble. It's my mistake. I'll rectify it and come back. All right. But rather we'll use something else, but to learn the same thing of what is given in the presentation file, PPT file. Right. So I'll use this Wireshark network analyzer. I'm sure good number of you might be using this network analyzer. I'm not going to go to all the fundamentals and every basics of things, but I would rather go and tell you what exactly happens when I use this HTTP protocol. So this Wireshark network analyzer is capable of working in promiscuous mode. What do you mean by promiscuous mode? It means it is able to capture every of the incoming and outgoing packets. All right. So capable of capturing all the packets which are available or which are connected with this device. For instance, I have connected my laptop with the Wi-Fi network available in my house, which is given internet connectivity through Karunya internet, the landline or the leased line connection. All right. So I'm getting the Wi-Fi. I'm getting the internet through the Wi-Fi port or the network interface card. So I'm going to enable this. You could see this line is slowly moving. It talks about the traffic in my laptop, or the traffic my laptop is creating in my local LAN. It also talks about its IP and other things. Before going to that, we can see, all right, okay, I'll just go ahead with that. So how am I going to go ahead? I'm going to capture every of the packet, but we are going to analyze only the HTTP packet. For that, I go to capture. If you are using this for the first time, you can go to the capture filters, check whether everything is done. Yeah, whether port is 80, it is all needed. Yes, this is what you are going to see. I give OK, and I go to options. In the options, I am going to say I'm going to look at the wireless network connection. All right, so I'm not going to see the local area connection where I'm not getting any internet, because you could see the Ethernet cable is dead. Okay, I'm not connected with the wired network, but rather I'm connected with the wireless network. You could see a graph is going which talks about the traffic, as I said. So I'm saying you capture every of the packets with this wireless network interface. Okay, it has started connecting. Okay, I'm not interested in it. Right, so how is it working? This contains at least two panes. Okay, the first pane contains almost every of the protocols, but I have done some filtering that it is not capturing every of the packets, but it captures some of the packets which I have defined in this filtering. I have shown you the filters. So I'm going to look at only these packets. You can see ARP is not there, or any other protocols are not available here. So I'm not going to capture all of them. All right. So I go to this capture. Once I press the button start, it is going to capture. Now I have stopped it. I stop sharing, but rather I'm going to share the I'm going to share my entire screen. So that will give you a little more clarity on how I'm going to do it. So this is my wireless Wireshark window. Parallelly, I'm going to use the Chrome browser, and I open a new tab where I'm going to type amazon.in, www.amazon. Okay, amazon.in is the website I'm going to crawl now. So what am I going to do? Go to the capture. I start capturing. Continue without saving. Yes, I don't want to continue. I go here. I just press amazon.in and press enter. All right, it takes little time, and this Amazon front page or the home page appears here. I go back to my Wireshark and I stop capturing. All right, this is sufficient for us to do lot of analysis. All right, I go back to the top. It talks about UDP, ICMP, V6. These are all the protocols. Go to specific points, specific protocols. I'm just scrolling this down. You can do some filtering, but it's okay. I'll use to find out where our first DNS packet is coming. So let me try whether I can use this filtering screen. Yes, so I can use the filtering screen here. So I have captured all the packets, but I have filtered it to see only the DNS packets. So we all are aware that when there is a URL is requested by the web browser, initially a DNS packet is starting its travel to find out the IP address of the target machine, right? So what happens? I am sending, this is a standard DNS query. You could see, yeah, in the bottom side, you could see all the layers. You could see DNS is the application layer. User datagram protocol is the transport layer. We know domain name system DNS is using UDP in the transport layer. Destination port is 53. This is one of the questions today, right? Then in the network layer, it uses IP version 4, and in data link layer, it uses Ethernet and the frames, right? So this is a DNS query. Just looking at the DNS query, okay, how many queries? Yes, there are queries. It talks about, can you please give the IP address of Amazon.in? So that is the meaning of this DNS query. Let it be. From where to where does it go? It goes from 20, 40, 30, 112. What is 20, 40, 30, 112? For that, I go to the command prompt and I give ipconfig/all. Once I give ipconfig/all, I could see the IP address of my machine. What is the IP address of my machine? Is it here? Yes. It is 20, 40, 30, 112. 20, 40, 30, 112 is the IP of my machine. So from 20, 40, 30, 112, a DNS packet has started its journey. What is the destination? 20, 40, 31. Who is the 20, 40, 31? 20, 40, 31 is my DNS server. 20, 40, 31 is the DNS server which is configured to my system. When you are using your own Wi-Fi, KUWL or KUREG, whatever it is, the DNS server may be different, may be same. You can find that out once you are here. But as you are using your laptop, you also can find out what is the domain name system address or IP which your machine is using. Anyway, now we have found that the request has gone from this machine, that is the machine of, that is the IP of my machine, this client machine. This is the DNS server, local DNS server which I have configured. Right. You also know how to use the DNS server. NSLOOKUP is the command which you would have done in your networking lab. So I do not want to waste your time there. All right. And after the request has gone, all right, at time, this much time the request has gone. So at this immediately, probably in a millisecond of time, you got the response from whom? You got the response from 20, 40, 31 to 20, 40, 30, 112. That is from the DNS to the client, to your machine. Okay. Anyway, I'm still exploring the first packet. In the first packet, I minimize this UDP, but I look at the user datagram protocol because UDP is running in the transport layer for DNS. It uses the source port as 52208, 52208. Always remember, if it is an unknown application, there are two kinds of application. One is well-known application, the other one is unknown application. If it is a well-known application, the port number is always between 1 to 1023. Okay, you could see 53 is falling well within the range of 1 to 1023. The DNS is a well-known application, port number 53. Here the source port is 52208, which is higher than 1028. It is not a well-known application. Okay, source IP, source application number is your browser's ID, the application ID of your browser. Please recall, we have learned something called socket in the previous class, which is a combination of IP address and port number. So combination of 20, 40, 30, 112 colon 53, I'm sorry, colon 52208 talks about the browser application which has initiated the DNS query. All right, destination port is 53. What does it mean? It means it goes to a DNS server, which is the DNS service application is running at port number 53, very similar to your door number. All right, 53. Now let's go to this second packet. For what happens in the response. Okay, you can see the answer. All right, it talks about the different details. Okay, I do not want to pursue much of DNS because there are 4 kinds of resource records. Actually, you got your type A, type MX, type CNAME, and there are 4 kinds of resource records available. So it talks about the canonical name. So don't want to trouble you much at this time, but I leave this. But somewhere you got the IP of the DNS, the Amazon.in. It is 13 35, 225, 85. Let's see whether that is the case. So I'm not going to filter out, I'm not going to filter with DNS. I open everything. But anyway, we'll scroll down to where DNS is. Yeah, this is what your query response. Okay. And we also have seen the IP of the Amazon is 13, 35, 225, 85. All which has happened so far is you have made a request to the DNS server. You got the response from the DNS server with the IP of your Amazon, that is 1335. Okay, immediately what happens? We are talking about a HTTP application. Being a HTTP application, we know it uses the TCP in the transport layer. So let's go to the TCP protocol. Is it here? Yeah. I'll just scroll this down. Okay, so this is a TCP protocol where you could see the source IP is 20.40.30.112. That is my own IP address. Then the destination port is 13.35.225.85. We know this is the IP of the end device, or in other words, it is Amazon.in. So now this is the time for you to recall that transport layer is responsible for end-to-end connection. See, this is my machine. This is the IP of the Amazon server or Amazon.in. All right. Now the connection is established between the source and the destination. The connection is not established with any of the intermediate machine, any of the router or any other person. No. Please remember, it is end-to-end. TCP makes end-to-end connection. All right. Now I can explore this TCP. What happens at the transport layer protocol? You could see the source port is 49.296. This is another application which is running in my machine. Okay, because this is not the DNS, this is the HTTP application. So it is 49.296 is the source port. No, what is this destination port? Have I clicked something else? No, let me go for HTTP. Where is HTTP? Is it available? We'll see. HTTP is not captured. What mistake did I do? Okay. I add one more. Okay, so right, something I missed. Okay, I forgot to include. But anyway, we will talk about that HTTP, no problem. So where am I? I'm here at TCP. Is it that one? Not this one. Is it that one? No. Where is our TCP? It's a response message. Yeah, it's here. Okay. See, the HTTP protocol will clearly indicate that we are connected with the HTTP. But anyway, we'll talk about the TCP. Again, I made a mistake that I did not include the capturing of HTTP packets. Right. Anyway, that's okay. I can demonstrate it in the next class. So you got this is your destination IP of your Amazon, and you could see it uses the port number 49296. The important point which we need to drive is there are two things. Okay, there are two TCP connections which are established. All right, one is with the source ID of 49296, the other one with the source ID of 49297. So these are the two TCP connections which are established. This I want to drive something protocol. We have seen it goes for TCP connection establishment. The first message is a connection request, and then you will get the response from the machine, that is the reply, and then you will get the acknowledgement. It's a three-way handshake protocol. But you could see there are two TCP connections. Interestingly, if you look at this, there are three TCP connections. Could you see? And if you still see this more, there are four TCP connections. This is something important we need to understand at this point of time. Okay, when you talk about this TCP and the HTTP, when you learn about HTTP, we we are going to talk about two kinds of HTTP protocols. One is HTTP with persistent connection. The other one is HTTP non-persistent connection. What happens in the case of non-persistent connection? When you talk about non-persistent HTTP, it always creates a separate TCP connection for every of the object. Suppose that in the website there are 10 files, one GIF file, another document, another PDF, and some more HTML file or PHP file. Assume that there are 10 such files. When you are using non-persistent HTTP, it goes for a separate TCP connection to be established between the client and the server. So a connection is established, then HTTP protocol will go fetch one object, and then it comes back. Then the TCP connection will be closed, and then the second TCP connection will be established. Second object will be fetched, and then TCP connection will be closed. For fetching 10 objects, you should establish 10 TCP connection. That is about non-persistent. I will explain to you the difficulty or the downside of this non-persistent connection once my presentation is perfect tomorrow. And there is a slight variation. We call it as persistent TCP. What happens in the case of persistent? The word is very clear. Persistent means something like permanent. So what happens in the case of persistent HTTP? Only one TCP connection is established, and n number of objects are retrieved from the server to the client. Once necessary number of objects are retrieved from the server to the client, then the TCP connection will be closed. So what happens in the second case, which is persistent HTTP? Only one TCP connection is established. All the objects are fetched from the server to the client, and then TCP connection is closed. So in the case of non-persistent, for 10 objects, 10 TCP connections have to be established. But in the case of non-persistent, in the case of persistent, for 10 objects, only one TCP connection is to be established. Is that all about? No. The third version, which is what currently in use, we call it as pipelining. So being a computer science student, I need not explain to you what is a pipelining. You would have learned in your architecture very well. Probably you know better than me about this pipelining architecture. But anyway, what is that pipelining? When first instruction is in the fetch cycle, the second instruction will be in the program counter. When the first instruction goes to the next phase, the new instruction is going to the fetch cycle. We call it as pipelining. Some people use it as parallelism. All right. But what happens in the pipelining? The first packet goes to the second lane. Similar, at the same time, the second packet comes to the first lane, and so on. This is called the pipelining. So in order to avoid or in order to minimize the latency, now if you see in this example, this browser has established 4 simultaneous TCP connections. I repeat, 4 simultaneous TCP connections are established between the client and the server to have your persistent HTTP with pipelining. All right. Okay. This is the request message from the client. There are 4 request messages from the client. We'll move to the response. You could see you are getting the response from 13, 35 to 25, 84. So you are getting the response from 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different responses you are getting. Interestingly, you got a different IP here. Okay, 54, 192, 148, 64. Okay. Now I can give you the hint. Look at the 4th one and the 3rd one. 4th one and the 3rd one. You got a different IP address. Okay. So what could be the reason for it? All right, you can find out, and then you can respond to me probably in the next class. All right, I give you the hint. You got 2 IP, same IP here in these 2 messages, but here you got another 2 message. In the meantime, you got a DNS query as well. Okay, so this is the best hint I can give you, and I will randomly ask you the answer for this question. Let's move on. You got the response for these 2 messages here, and these 2, the 3rd and 4th message here. You got the response. Okay, and then the 3rd message, as I have said, is an acknowledgement message. when it is an acknowledgement message, again from the client, that is my machine, from the client machine to the server machine, we are getting the acknowledgement. All right. So this is the third message. So three-way handshake protocol is established. In the meantime, HTTP protocol would have started, but I did not capture it. Again, it's my mistake. So the HTTP packet would have gone to get the packet, the response from the Amazon.in server, and get the answer back to your web browser. All right. So this is about three-way handshake protocol. Not going to go into the details of everything, but please remember what has happened. You got the DNS query response, and then persistent HTTP with pipelining is happening. All right. So anyway, in the class tomorrow, I will talk a little bit of theory about it. How are we calculating the round trip time? How are we calculating? How are we enhancing the round trip time? And how can we enhance still the internet delay? So that will be our topic for tomorrow. So please take it as the homework for tomorrow's class. You all will read the web and HTTP topic of our textbook, and then you will come back, which talks about the basics of HTTP, persistent HTTP, non-persistent HTTP, HTTP message format, that is the request format as well as response format. Then we will also talk about the web caching and little bit of cookies. Right. So this will be our topic tomorrow. Hope I'll be able to run through quickly tomorrow, having given all this input today. Right. So I stop sharing at present. I could see some of your friends have already left. That's okay. Some of you have given some comments. It's blinking. Thanks, Venkata Sivanya. Now I'm reading your message. Yeah, Shreyashni also has said that screen is blinking. Yes, somehow we managed it. Shall we quickly look at the answer for today's questions? So that will be better before we wind up. So I stop recording now.